The United States Coast Guard, a branch of the military that is often overlooked and is presently part of the Department of Homeland Security, was, however, completely under a different branch when I first enlisted, which was the Department of Transportation. Good evening, I'm James Baird, and I'm going to be talking to you for a little bit about my time in the military, the U.S. Coast Guard, and just a little bit about the fears I experienced with boot camp and the excitement I had with being a part of something such a big part of something other than just my regular life, and how everything kind of changed after that tragic day back in September 11th of 2001. I joined the Coast Guard back in March of 2000, and I pretty much, I'm newly married, so my honeymoon was spent in boot camp, and it was a pretty frightening experience. I had gotten there, and there was just a constant fear of failing and being stuck in boot camp, and my fears were reaffirmed when I met a young man that had been there many weeks. He had had a bad knee, and he was unable to finish some of the physical requirements that we needed to complete. He just couldn't finish them in the allotted time. And so he had been there for 16 weeks, and that just scared me to death. I was stuck in a place that I thought I was going to be stuck in forever. But luckily, I had managed to complete all the things I was supposed to complete, and I was able to successfully graduate in the regular 8 weeks instead of being stuck there for forever. And I was frightened and tired, and it just seemed like it was never going to end. But when it finally did, I was stationed up in Portland, Maine, on the Coast Guard cutter Marcus Hanna, which was a buoy tender, and we worked on aids and navigation, and just really a lot of servicing for channel markers, and just to help mariners navigate into channels and into the bays and harbors up in the New England area. And I really loved my job. I thought it was fantastic. I made a lot of good friends, and it was just a really good experience. And I became a bosun mate, and I took pride in what I was doing. I really liked my job, and it was good to be a part of something and feel like what you were doing was important. And it really kind of took to heart what JFK had said about, it's not what you can do for your country, it's not what your country can do for you, but it's what you can do for your country. That I felt like that meant something. And then after I'd been in for just a little bit, September 11th happened, and all of a sudden they're making the Department of Homeland Security, and the Coast Guard is no longer under the Department of Transportation, and policies and regulations are starting to change. And it was exciting, and it was terrifying at the same time. We were worried that there was going to be more attacks, and we really just didn't know what was going on. And we really, things started to change in the Coast Guard, and policies. It started to become a more strict and not a very friendly military. There was things that were exciting and good about it. We were taking like more self-defense and more weapons training and stuff like that, and that was exciting. But in reality, we ended up patrolling off of places that were thought to be potential targets for terrorist attacks. But in reality, there were places that no one would really go. And it really made the rest of my time at my unit kind of boring. There was just sitting on a boat, patrolling an area in the ocean, and there was just nothing really going on other than that. And with that and the new policies that changed and everything else, it really made it impossible to homestead somewhere, to stick with a unit that you liked. every couple of years you're transferring, and that was really one of the main deciding factors that made me want to cut my career short. A normal career for retirement stuff is 20 years, and I only did 5 years in the military. And I enjoyed my time. I honestly wouldn't change a thing about it. I really just enjoyed myself while I was there, and it was just a fantastic time. I wouldn't change anything at all. I was honorably discharged, which, thank goodness for that. It was a good time, and to kind of conclude what I was talking about, military and the Coast Guard, it taught me a great many things. It taught me how to be the man that I've turned into today, and I really appreciate every experience that I had, and it gave me an ability to be more than just Joe Schmo on the street trying to make ends meet, and it kind of helped give me purpose and drive. And like the motto that the Coast Guard uses, which is Semper Paratus, which means always ready, I feel like now that's pretty much what I am. I'm always ready for what's coming next. And that pretty much concludes it. I'd like to open the floor for any questions.
This is Jamie. I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Were there swimming tests as part of your basic training?
Yes, there was. It wasn't too extensive. It was pretty much like a 50-yard swim. Surprisingly, there was a lot of people that didn't seem to be able to do it. And you had, I want to say it was, I can't quite remember the time that you needed for the swim test in boot camp, but it was around, I want to say, like a few minutes. You had anywhere from, I want to say, like 3 to 5 minutes to do a 50-yard swim, which was pretty much the way they worked it out was one lap around the outside edges of an Olympic-sized swimming pool, pretty much down one side, the ends, and then the other side and back to where you started. And they didn't care how you did the swim. You could have dog paddled it, breaststroke, or however else you could do it. They just wanted you to be able to make that swim. And the only other thing that they really did was they wanted to make sure that you could at least tread water as well. And we did like 10 minutes worth of treading water, which doesn't sound like much, but after you've been sitting in the water for 10 minutes, it does become pretty exhausting. Is there anyone else with a question?
Thank you.
This is Jerry. You said you were in the Coast Guard for 5 years. Did you spend all your time in Fort Maine?
No, I didn't. I did 3 years up in Portland, Maine on the buoy tender that I was on, and I decided I'd try out some other units before I made my final decision on if I wanted to stay in. And I went to a small boat station, which was in Mobile, Alabama. Well, it was near Mobile. It was called Dolphin Island, and it was a different kind of experience. And honestly, I didn't really speak much of that in my speech, just because it wasn't a unit that I really enjoyed. There was a lot of things about it. I mean, I learned a lot while I was there. It wasn't the same as my first unit. I really enjoyed my first unit, and I liked servicing all the aids navigation that I was tasked with repairing and maintaining. And once I got to the small boat station, it was really a lot of dealing with people that just had no sense being out on the ocean. People that go out on their boats with no fuel and expect to tow back. A lot of search and rescue stuff for people that just did things absent-mindedly. Not making sure that their boat was really seaworthy before they ventured out. And it's always us that had to go out and collect them and bring them back to the docks.
I have a question. Hi, my name is Hannah. My question is, when you were in Maine, if there was threat of terrorists or whatever, would that have changed your decision to get out earlier or stay? Or
honestly, I think everyone was really feeling that noble cause of serving their country when September 11th happened. And, you know, when I say that the policies changed and everything else, that wasn't like my main decision and why I wanted to get out. I mean, it changed from being a job that I really liked to being more military. I mean, it was more, you know, snap to and yes sir. And before that, a lot of the people that, you know, even though they had rank were, you know, they were just like a regular boss, like a regular boss. And, you know, I liked it, but they started becoming, you know, more strict with their policy and everything else. And were there more possible threats, I probably would have stayed, honestly. I mean, I you know, you feel that obligation. But that's pretty much about it, though. I mean, it was more just the changes and not being able to stay in one place. And that's just too hard on the family to do that. So.
Hi, my name's Cheryl. I have a question. If you were to do this again, would you make your service commitment the same or longer than it was?
That's actually a good question. If I were starting right now today, the same age I was, and starting over, if I knew what I know now, I would probably make it a longer stay. Just because I kind of have a better way of understanding what kind of units to choose and what kind of areas you really want to work in and the type of units you'd want to be stationed at. And I just, I can see myself making more of a career with it just because I know a little bit better of how they station people and why. And in reality, I mean, the only really scary part of being in the military is being, you know, when you have a wife and kids, is being stuck on the big ships that never come back. Because even like the Navy, the Coast Guard does have ships, you know, they have polar icebreakers that are up in the Arctic that are gone 6 months out of the year. I believe they actually are like 2 months out, 2 months in. They kind of go back and forth like that. But still, I mean, 2 months away from your family is quite a long time. And granted, it's not like the Navy or anywhere else. But I think if I could do it over again, I probably would stay a little bit longer, though.
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you. And that concludes our Q&A. Thank you very much.